a mother of two, a broken phone screen, and a Facebook comment that should have meant nothing. But on a humid Tuesday night in August 2024, that single comment would set off a chain of events that left one woman dead, 5 people behind bars, and a small Georgia town asking the same haunting question: how did we let this happen? This is the story of how social media turned a playground dispute into a tragedy that shocked America, and why the woman at the center of it all never saw it coming. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The security camera footage shows exactly 9:47 p.m. when the first car pulled into the Riverside Apartments parking lot. 17 seconds later, a second vehicle arrived. Within 3 minutes, neighbors would call 911 reporting what sounded like fireworks. But they weren't fireworks. By 9:53 p.m., 27-year-old Emma Richardson would be lying on the pavement, bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds, while her phone, still clutched in her hand, continued to livestream to an audience of 847 people. Some were recording, some were commenting in real time, and some were actually there in the parking lot, watching it unfold in person, while simultaneously watching it on their phones. This is what happens when the line between online conflict and real-world violence disappears completely. This is the story of Emma Richardson, a woman whose life was cut short not by a stranger, but by someone she'd once called a friend. Emma Richardson wasn't supposed to be a statistic. She was the kind of person who remembered your birthday, who'd show up at your door with dinner when you were sick, who'd give you her last $20 if you needed it more than she did. Born and raised in Riverdale, Georgia, Emma had spent her entire 27 years in the same 10-mile radius. She knew every street, every family that had lived there for generations. This was home. This was supposed to be safe. Emma had 2 children, ages 8 and 4. Their father, Marcus, had been Emma's high school sweetheart. They'd gotten together when she was 16, had their first child at 19, and had been off and on ever since. She worked 2 jobs, managed to make every parent-teacher conference, and somehow always had her kids looking put together, even when she was running on 4 hours of sleep. Her Instagram was filled with photos of her children, birthday parties at the park, homemade lunches. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous. She was just trying to make it work. But in July 2024, something changed. Marcus, the father of her children, was killed in a car accident. Just a terrible random moment where his truck hydroplaned on a rainy night and hit a tree. He was 30 years old. Emma was devastated. She posted about it constantly in the weeks that followed, long captions about grief, about trying to explain death to an 8-year-old, about lying in bed wondering how she was supposed to do this alone. Her friends reached out. Her family surrounded her. But grief doesn't follow a timeline, and Emma was drowning. She started spending more time online, posting late at night when the kids were asleep, scrolling through old photos. It was her way of processing. And that's when the comments started. Most people were kind. They sent prayers, condolences, heart emojis. But one person, someone Emma had known for years, started leaving comments that felt off, subtle at first. A laughing emoji on a post about missing Marcus, then more direct. Comments about how Marcus had never really been faithful, about how maybe Emma should stop playing the grieving widow when she didn't even know the whole truth. That person was Kayla Morgan. Kayla and Emma had been friends once, years ago. Same high school, same parties, even worked together at a grocery store. But something had fractured their friendship around the time Emma got pregnant with her first child. There were rumors that Kayla had tried to get with Marcus back then, that she'd been rejected, that she'd never really gotten over it. Emma had brushed it off. But now, in Emma's most vulnerable moment, Kayla was back. And she wasn't just commenting. She was messaging Emma's friends, posting cryptic things about fake people and fake tears. Emma tried to ignore it. She deleted comments. She blocked Kayla on one platform, but Kayla would just pop up on another. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It felt relentless. Emma's friends told her to let it go. But grief does strange things to a person. It makes you raw. It makes you react when you normally wouldn't. And Emma was tired of being the bigger person. On August 19th, 2024, Emma posted a long message on Facebook. She didn't name Kayla directly, but everyone knew who she was talking about. She wrote about how some people can't let go of the past, how some people get jealous of a dead man, how some people are so miserable they have to destroy someone else's peace. The post got hundreds of likes, but Kayla saw it. And Kayla responded with a video, a Facebook Live video where she sat in her car and proceeded to air out everything she'd been holding in for years. She talked about how Marcus had messaged her 2 months before he died, how he'd said he was tired of Emma. She showed screenshots, she read messages out loud, and then she said the thing that would set everything in motion. She said if Emma wanted to talk about it, she knew where to find her. She gave her address, Riverside Apartments, Building C, Apartment 12, and she said, "I'll be here all night. Come through if you're really about it." Emma saw the video within minutes. So did everyone else. It had been shared 40 times in the first hour. People were commenting, taking sides, tagging their friends. This wasn't just between Emma and Kayla anymore. This was public. This was a spectacle. And Emma felt trapped. If she didn't respond, she looked weak. If she did respond, she was feeding into it. But the screenshots Kayla had shown were real. Emma recognized Marcus's typing style. He had reached out to Kayla. He had said those things. And now Emma had to sit with the fact that the man she'd been mourning had been talking to another woman behind her back weeks before he died. It broke something in her. Not just sadness, anger, betrayal, and a desperate need to confront the person who'd just humiliated her in front of everyone she knew. Emma called her best friend Jasmine. Jasmine had been there through everything: the births of Emma's kids, the breakups with Marcus, the funeral. Emma was crying when Jasmine answered. Not loud sobs, but the quiet, exhausted kind that happens when you've been holding it together too long. She told Jasmine about the video, about the messages. Jasmine tried to talk her down. She said, "It's not worth it. Kayla wants a reaction. Don't give it to her." But Emma wasn't hearing it. She said, "I just need to talk to her. I just need to look her in the face and ask her why." Jasmine knew that tone. Emma wasn't going to let this go. So Jasmine said, "If you're going over there, I'm coming with you. You're not doing this alone." They met up at Emma's apartment around 8:30 p.m. Emma's mother was watching the kids. Emma put on a hoodie, tied her hair back, didn't bother with makeup. This wasn't about looking good. This was about getting answers. Jasmine drove. Emma sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone, reading the comments on Kayla's video over and over again. People were saying Emma deserved to know the truth. People were saying Kayla was messy for putting it online. People were saying they couldn't wait to see what happened next. And that's the thing that still haunts the people who were watching that night. Everyone was waiting for the next chapter. Everyone was entertained. But no one thought it would end the way it did. When they pulled into the Riverside Apartments parking lot, Emma noticed other cars already there, not just random residents, people she recognized, friends of Kayla's, people who'd been commenting on the video. It was like everyone had gotten the same memo. This was about to be a show. Jasmine parked near Building C. Emma got out first. She didn't run. She didn't yell. She walked slowly toward the building. And that's when she saw Kayla standing on the second-floor balcony, phone in hand, already recording. Kayla smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing smile. Emma stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked up. She said, "You really had to do it like that? You couldn't just talk to me like a person?" Kayla turned her phone camera toward Emma and said, "Say hi to everybody. We're live." Emma's stomach dropped. She hadn't realized Kayla was live streaming. But now she saw the little red dot, the comments rolling in, the viewer count climbing. 200 people, 300, 400. Everyone was watching. Emma felt Jasmine's hand on her shoulder. "Turn around, let's go." But Emma couldn't move. She'd come this far. She'd already been humiliated online. She wasn't going to back down now. She climbed the stairs, slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. When she reached the second floor, Kayla was standing just outside her apartment door, phone still pointed at Emma, a small crowd gathering on the balcony and in the parking lot. This wasn't a private conversation anymore. This was a performance. Emma spoke quietly. "Why are you doing this? He's dead, Kayla. Why does it even matter now?" Kayla tilted her head, still recording. "Because you've been playing victim for weeks, posting all that sad stuff like he was some perfect man. He wasn't, and everybody needed to know the truth." Emma's hands were shaking. She wasn't a fighter. She'd never been in a physical altercation in her life, but rage has a way of overriding logic. She stepped closer to Kayla. "You didn't have to put it online. You didn't have to embarrass me like that." Kayla laughed. A sharp, performative laugh meant for the camera. "Emma, you embarrassed yourself. I just showed people what was already there." The comments on the live stream were coming in fast now. People typing "fight her," people typing "this is crazy," people typing "someone call the police." But no one did. Not yet. Because everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Jasmine was still at the bottom of the stairs, trying to convince Emma to leave, but now other people were arriving. Friends of Kayla's. People who'd seen the live stream and decided to show up. Within minutes, there were at least 15 people in that parking lot, some recording on their own phones, some just watching, and the energy was shifting. Then someone yelled something from the parking lot, something about Emma being pathetic, about her man never loving her. Emma turned toward the voice. She couldn't even tell who'd said it. But it didn't matter. The humiliation was complete. She was surrounded by people who were entertained by her pain, who were watching her worst moment like it was a reality TV show. She finally understood what Jasmine had been trying to tell her. This wasn't about getting answers. This was about being destroyed publicly. She started to turn around to walk back down the stairs, to leave. But then she heard Kayla say one more thing. "Too bad Marcus isn't here to see this. He'd probably be embarrassed too." Emma stopped. That was the line. That was the moment everything changed. She spun around and lunged toward Kayla, not to hit her, just to grab the phone, to make her stop recording. But Kayla jerked backward, and the phone fell to the ground. The live stream was still going. The camera was now pointing up at the sky, but the audio was still on. And everyone heard what happened next. The phone hit the concrete with a crack, but it didn't stop recording. The screen was shattered, but the little red light was still on. 847 people were watching, and they heard everything. Yelling, screaming, the sound of bodies slamming against metal railings. Someone in the parking lot shouted, "They're fighting!" More people rushed toward the stairs. Jasmine was trying to pull Emma back, but the crowd was closing in. It wasn't just Emma and Kayla anymore. Other people were getting involved. The situation was out of control. And then someone threw the first punch. To this day, no one can agree on who it was. Some witnesses say it was one of Kayla's friends. Some say it was someone who came with Emma. But it didn't matter. Once that first punch was thrown, everything erupted. The fight spilled down the stairs and into the parking lot. Emma was trying to get to Jasmine, trying to get out of there, but people were grabbing her, pushing her, shoving her. She fell to the ground, scraping her hands on the asphalt, and when she looked up, she saw at least 20 people surrounding her. Some were fighting each other, some were just recording. And through all of it, she could hear Kayla's voice, still yelling, still taunting, still performing for an audience that couldn't look away. Jasmine managed to pull Emma to her feet and drag her toward the car. Emma's face was bleeding from a cut above her eyebrow. Her hoodie was torn. She was sobbing, gasping for air, completely overwhelmed. Jasmine got her into the passenger seat and locked the doors. But the crowd didn't disperse. People were banging on the windows, still yelling, still recording. Jasmine started the car and tried to back out, but there were too many people in the way. And that's when they heard it. A single gunshot, then another, then chaos. People started screaming and running in every direction. Jasmine ducked down in the driver's seat. Emma crouched in the passenger seat, and for a few seconds, neither of them could process what was happening. The gunshots kept coming. Not just one or two, a dozen, 2 dozen, rapid fire. It sounded like a war zone. Car windows were shattering. People were diving behind vehicles, sprinting toward the buildings. Jasmine finally managed to reverse the car and speed out of the parking lot. She didn't stop until they were 3 blocks away, parked in a gas station lot, both of them shaking. Emma looked at Jasmine and whispered, "What just happened?" Jasmine didn't answer. She was staring at her phone. The live stream was still going. Kayla's phone was still on the ground, still recording, and the audio was picking up everything. Sirens, screaming, and then a woman's voice, faint but unmistakable, saying, "Someone's been shot. Oh my God, someone's been shot." Emma and Jasmine didn't go home that night. They drove to Jasmine's mother's house and sat in the living room, glued to their phones, trying to figure out what had happened after they left. The live stream had ended, but videos were already surfacing, dozens of them. Every single person who'd been in that parking lot had recorded something, and now it was all over the internet. News stations were picking it up. Twitter was exploding. Headlines were already forming. Shooting at Riverside Apartments. Woman killed during Facebook live fight. Livestream turns deadly. Emma felt like she was going to be sick. Jasmine kept saying, "We left. We weren't there when it happened. We didn't do anything." But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was somehow her fault. She'd gone there. She'd confronted Kayla. She'd started this. By 2:30 a.m., the victim's name was released. It wasn't Kayla. Kayla was alive. The woman who'd been shot and killed was a 23-year-old named Brianna Lewis. Emma didn't know her. She'd never met her. But Brianna had been at the apartments that night. She'd been in the parking lot, recording on her phone just like everyone else. And when the shooting started, she'd been caught in the crossfire. She was hit multiple times. Witnesses said she'd tried to run, but she didn't make it more than a few feet before she collapsed. Paramedics arrived within 6 minutes. They tried to revive her, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. Brianna Lewis, 23 years old, no criminal record. She worked at a grocery store. She had a 1-year-old daughter. She'd just been there to watch the drama unfold, and now she was gone. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat on Jasmine's couch, reading everything she could find about Brianna, looking at her photos. She was young. She was pretty. She had her whole life ahead of her. And she died because a crowd of people, Emma included, had turned a personal dispute into a public spectacle. Emma kept thinking, if I hadn't gone there, would this have happened? If I'd just ignored Kayla, if I'd just stayed home with my kids, would Brianna still be alive? The guilt was suffocating. By 6 a.m., the police had made arrests. 5 people were taken into custody and charged with murder, and Emma's name was all over the local news, not as a suspect, but as the reason it started, the woman at the center of the confrontation, the woman who'd gone to Riverside Apartments looking for a fight, the woman who'd walked away alive while someone else died. The investigation moved fast. The amount of video evidence was overwhelming. Between the live stream, security cameras, and dozens of personal recordings, the police had a minute-by-minute account of everything that had happened. They knew who'd thrown the first punch. They knew who'd pulled out the first gun, and they knew exactly how Brianna Lewis had ended up in the line of fire. The 5 people arrested were all connected to Kayla. 3 were her cousins. 1 was her boyfriend. 1 was a friend who'd shown up after seeing the live stream. According to witness testimony and video evidence, the shooting had started when Emma and Jasmine tried to leave. Someone in Kayla's group, angry that the fight was being broken up, had pulled out a handgun and fired into the air. It was meant to be intimidation, a warning shot, but it set off a chain reaction. Other people in the crowd started firing back. No one knew who they were shooting at. It was just chaos, and Brianna, standing near the edge of the parking lot, was hit by a stray bullet, then another, then another. By the time the shooting stopped, she'd been hit 4 times. The arrests brought some sense of justice, but they didn't bring peace. The community was shattered. Brianna's family was grieving. Emma was drowning in guilt. And social media was having a field day. People were debating who was really to blame. Some said it was Emma's fault for showing up. Some said it was Kayla's fault for live streaming. Some said it was the shooter's fault. But the truth was, everyone played a role. Everyone who showed up that night looking for drama. Everyone who recorded instead of calling the police. Everyone who commented on the live stream, encouraging the chaos, treating real people like characters in a story. The line between online entertainment and real-world consequences had completely dissolved, and a young woman was dead because of it. Emma gave a statement to the police. She told them everything. She wasn't charged with anything. Legally, she hadn't done anything wrong. She hadn't fired a weapon. She hadn't incited violence. She'd just been there. But morally, emotionally, she couldn't forgive herself. She kept thinking about Brianna's daughter, a 1-year-old who would grow up without a mother. And for what? Because 2 women couldn't let go of a grudge? Because a crowd of people wanted to be entertained? Emma stopped posting on social media. She deleted Facebook. She deleted Instagram. She couldn't stand to see her own face, knowing that the last time she'd been in a public space, someone had died. She started seeing a therapist. She struggled to sleep, and every time she closed her eyes, she heard the gunshots. The trial for the 5 defendants began in March 2025. It was a media circus. News trucks lined the courthouse. The courtroom was packed with family members and people who'd followed the case online. Emma was called to testify. She didn't want to. She'd tried to move on, tried to rebuild her life quietly, but the prosecution needed her to establish the timeline. So she went. She sat in the witness box and answered questions for 2 hours. She explained the feud with Kayla, the Facebook posts, the live stream, the decision to go to the apartments, and then the prosecutor asked her the question she'd been dreading. Do you feel responsible for what happened to Brianna Lewis? Emma's lawyer had told her not to answer that, but Emma looked at Brianna's mother sitting in the front row, and she couldn't stay silent. Yes, she said. I do. I feel responsible. I went there looking for a confrontation, and even though I didn't pull a trigger, I started something I couldn't control, and Brianna paid the price for that. The courtroom was silent. Brianna's mother was crying. Emma was crying. The defense tried to use Emma's testimony to argue that their clients were caught up in something bigger, that the real issue was social media culture, mob mentality, but the prosecution was clear. 5 people brought guns to a public confrontation. 5 people fired those guns, and 1 innocent woman died. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the verdicts were mixed. 2 defendants were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. 2 were found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and given 20-year sentences. 1 was acquitted. The courtroom erupted. Brianna's family felt it wasn't enough. The defendants' families felt it was too much. And Emma, sitting in the back row, felt numb. Justice had been served, technically. But Brianna was still dead. A year has passed since that night. Emma is still in Georgia, still raising her 2 children, still trying to make sense of what happened. She doesn't talk about it publicly. She doesn't do interviews. She just tries to live quietly, to be present for her kids, to find some kind of peace. But she thinks about Brianna every single day. She thinks about the choices she made, the anger she couldn't let go of, the validation she thought she needed, and she wonders if any of it was worth it. The answer, of course, is no. Brianna's daughter is 2 years old now. She's being raised by her grandmother. She'll never know her mother. She'll grow up with photos and stories, but she'll never hear her mother's voice, never feel her mother's arms around her. And that loss started with something as small as a Facebook comment. Kayla moved out of Riverside Apartments. She deleted her social media accounts after receiving death threats. She gave one interview where she said she never intended for anyone to get hurt, that she didn't ask for people to show up that night. But the public wasn't buying it. She'd posted her address. She'd live-streamed the confrontation. She'd turned a personal conflict into a public event. And whether she pulled a trigger or not, her actions set everything in motion. Some people will never forgive her. Some people will never forgive Emma. And some people will never forgive the crowd that showed up, phones in hand, ready to record, never once thinking about the real-world consequences. So what do we take away from this? The easy answer is to blame social media, to say that platforms enable this kind of behavior, that live streaming has turned us into spectators who value entertainment over empathy. And there's truth in that. But the harder answer is to look at ourselves, to ask why we click on those videos, why we share them, why we comment and engage and treat real people like characters in a story we can consume. Brianna Lewis wasn't a character, she was a real person, a daughter, a mother, a woman with dreams and a future that was stolen because a crowd of people couldn't see past the spectacle. Emma still lives with the guilt. She probably always will. But she's learned something. She's learned that anger, no matter how justified, isn't worth the cost. That validation from strangers online means nothing compared to the safety and peace of the people you love. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. If she could go back to that night, she would have stayed home. She would have hugged her kids. She would have let Kayla's words fade into irrelevance. Because in the end, none of it mattered. The feud, the screenshots, the public humiliation, all of it was temporary. But the bullet that killed Brianna Lewis was permanent. This story isn't just about Emma and Kayla. It's about all of us. It's about the choices we make when we're angry, when we're hurt, when we're looking for validation. It's about the way social media has blurred the line between performance and reality, between conflict and entertainment. And it's about the fact that behind every viral video, every live-streamed confrontation, there are real people whose lives are being affected in ways we'll never fully understand. Brianna Lewis should still be here. She should be watching her daughter grow up. But she's not. I want to hear from you. How do you feel about what happened to Brianna? How do you feel about Emma's choices? And if you were in Emma's position, dealing with public humiliation and private grief, what would you have done differently? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story made you think, if it made you reflect on your own relationship with social media and the way we treat each other online, then share this video. Because stories like this shouldn't just be consumed, they should change us. And maybe we can make sure that what happened to Brianna Lewis never happens again.